You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I am Larck, your boy Tank on Twitter, here to talk to you all today about the signing day. Really, that's going to be the biggest thing to talk about throughout this entire offseason is this class coming in. So, again, signing day was yesterday. I was busy all day trying to make sure graphics went up in a timely manner. Auburn signed 25 players, all 25 commits, all signed. Auburn only really lost Shamar Arnaud as a commit, which is, I mean, if you're going to lose guys, I mean, you have DBs to lose, but you don't want to lose anybody, of course. With Shamar, the best of luck at FSU. But, I mean, you got Jared Smith. You got Malik Autry. You got Deuce Knight. I'll get through every guy individually. You brought in a very good class. And despite moving down a spot in the rankings from 5 to 6 per 24/7, it's a very, very good class. And I stand by the fact that I think this class has the opportunity to do bigger and better things from what we see from the 24 class. I mean, that's no diss on the 24 class. All three classes Hugh Freeze has brought in thus far are very good. I just see a lot of potential out of the guys in this class, especially my guy Malik Autry, who I'm going to talk about in length no matter what. Now, just kind of get right into the recap there. So, of course, this signing day started off early, very early. I was not expecting it to start when it did. I woke up this morning at 6:10 a.m. It's currently 11:40 because I was staying up watching the Auburn-Duke game, which I'll go over in about 20-ish minutes, 30-ish minutes, depends on the how we're doing over here on the College Loop Podcast. So, yeah, first graphic of mine went up at 6:15 a.m. Five-star punter John Allen McGuire was the first name to pop up as a signee. And then you had some guys that you were worried about start signing a little later. But, yeah, you got Ty Buster, Kale Ellis, Jacoby Ward. You got all the offensive linemen that you got to commit. And, of course, there are a lot of guys that Auburn missed out on earlier, but I still think you got a lot of good talent out of this class. Broderick Scholl being one of those major key pickups there. And, of course, I think you see a lot of good things out of Kale Ellis. I love the energy that kid has on everything. He's been one of the most pumped up guys about coming to Auburn from what I've been seeing. You got both your tight ends. You got Hollis Davidson and Ryan Gee. Both to sign the day. Both signed early. I believe Ryan Gee was supposed to sign at like 2:00. And then out of nowhere, he signed at like 7:30. And I guess that's when it all got reported. I was not there in attendance for any of these signings, but as soon as they got reported, I was quick to hop on to get those posted. Jared Smith, of course, signing with the Auburn Tigers after what felt like a week or so of a lot of speculation on whether or not South Carolina was going to try to hop in and grab him. They seemed to really like what they saw from Jared Smith, trying to pair him up with Dylan Stewart. But Auburn, of course, got him at the end. I know there's a lot of speculation, too, about Elijah Melendez. Apparently, Oregon was a last-minute factor there, but he stayed true to Auburn. And I believe the only other guy Auburn really was able to lock in from any kind of speculation or recruiting rumors was, of course, Deuce Knight. Ole Miss thought they had a good hand in this. But, yeah, that was pretty much it. Auburn locked in their quarterback of the future for the fourth year in a row of getting their quarterback of the future. But, of course, Deuce Knight is going to be the biggest talking point here going forward because quarterbacks are going to be a huge talking point throughout the offseason. Yet again, now that there's an open availability at the starting quarterback position. And you kind of go through some of the other guys, and I'll go through each one kind of individually and about what I like about each at some point. One of the big guys you got to talk about here is Darian Smith, a 3-star defensive lineman. You were able to flip him from Tennessee, which is a massive pickup. Really, so far, it was the only flip Auburn was able to get during signing day. Usman Kroma ended up flipping from Georgia, but went to Florida State. And, of course, Naeem Offord announced his flipping from Ohio State. And what felt like a 2.5 hour long ceremony. If anyone watched the Parker High School live stream trying to figure out where Naeem Offord went, I pity you as well, because me and you both had to sit there through whatever that was. It was like an hour of just the parents and teachers and other staff members all talking about each player, I guess. It dragged on, and then the commits all went bang, 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 bang all the way through. Naeem, of course, went last. He had the biggest decision to make. Jordan Crawford, of course, signed like 2 minutes before that, basically re-announcing he's committed to Auburn. When Naeem Offord went up there, his turn, he had an Ohio State beanie, Oregon hat, and an Auburn hat. He played a highlight video that Oregon made for him, announced he was committing to Oregon. He picked up the Auburn hat and threw it, which I thought was a little weird because, you know, I understand it. I get hyped up whenever they grab Alabama hats or Georgia hats and throw them out of the way. I was like, dude, you're never committed to us. But regardless, wish him best of luck at Oregon. Just it does suck Auburn didn't grab him. It was also kind of the same thing with I believe Usman Chroma as well. I was really expecting Auburn to grab both those guys, but did not happen. But he brought in a good class regardless. Defensive backs. I mean, you got to like what you see out of guys like Blake Woodby. I think he's one of those guys you kind of look at and could play right away. His tenacity, his energy that he brings. And I think someone mentioned like no other recruit loves Auburn the way Blake Woodby loves Auburn. And it's something you really saw throughout his entire commitment. But you kept Donovan Starr. A lot of speculation with that earlier this week about whether or not he's going to flip and go to Alabama or not. But I think when Naeem going to Oregon, Auburn probably reinforced their commitment to Donovan Starr and was able to maintain him. Able to bring in defensive backs in the back part of the defensive backfield, and Eric Winters and Anquan Fegans, a safety combo that are going to be a deadly combo for the years to come. I like what I saw from both those guys. Edge rushers, of course, you brought in Jared Smith. You also got Jacaleb Falk, who's listed as a linebacker, but I think he will be playing as the edge. Two very, very high energy guys. Jacaleb being a speed rusher, Jared being a power rusher. Defensive line. I mean, the defensive line was the key part of this recruiting class, and it's something that I think is going to be kind of pushed on whenever we talk about the transporter conversation in a second. You brought in a lot of great guys. I mean, I bring up Malik Autry a lot because I do think he's going to be a day one piece in the rotation. I mean, right away. And of course, you brought in Jordan Crawford out of Parker. You brought in Antonio Coleman out of Saraland, another great piece. And of course, you got guys like Darian Smith who you got to flip. And I mean, that was it. But the great thing to look about with this class, and I pulled up this graphic because I had to update it. I had to update the graphic a little bit, pulling that up. Top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama. Of course, you missed out on Naeem Offord. Auburn made a late push for Zion Grady, not able to get him to flip from Ohio State. But regardless, 8 out of the top 10 players in the state of Alabama per 24/7 Sports are all Auburn Tigers, signed and sent in to the registrar's office, telling them that they are coming to Auburn. So just a great class overall. And of course, just going to the offensive side of the ball, of course, quarterback Deuce Knight, top 5 quarterback in the class, 5-star Deuce Knight. Everyone thought, all right, not everyone, Ole Miss fans thought he was going to flip to Ole Miss. Did not happen. Showed up to signing day wearing an Auburn jacket, wearing an Auburn hat, and just full on was like, just let's go. So yeah, great pickup there with Deuce Knight. So that fills out a spot. Hugh Freeze mentioned that he is looking to have at least 4 scholarship quarterbacks. He's got 3. Deuce Knight's coming in. You maintain Hank Brown, and you're bringing back Walker White. That's already 3. You just got to bring in 1 in the portal. We'll talk about more of that in just a second. Up next, wide receiver, brought in 4-star Derek Smith. His taller twin brother, Eric Smith, who is 6'6". You also brought in 4-star wide receiver Sam Turner as well, bringing in a nice trio of wide receivers to join what is an outstanding group of wide receivers Auburn's going to have next year. Linebackers, I mentioned defensive backs I missed out on. Devin Williams, who also committed or has also signed. You look at interior offensive lineman Ty Buster and Kale Ellis, mentioned them earlier in the show. Broderick Scholl, that's going to be out in a very good piece later on. Bryce Diaz is one of my favorite parts of this recruiting class. Of course, a high energy, very fast linebacker. Basically, he reminds me a lot of DeMarcus Riddick in a way. And of course, Elijah Melendez, who's going to be more of your strong linebacker to Bryce Diaz's fast linebacker, basically having a pass rusher and a guy you can put back in coverage. Hollis Davidson, your pass threat tight end coming through. Auburn, of course, has lost in total 4 tight ends, 2 to eligibility. Good Lord. And 2 to the portal, which I'll go over later on. We've already talked about Micah Riley, but another tight end has entered the portal since then. Of course, bringing Ryan Gee is going to be more of your pass or your blocking tight end. And then, after that, you brought in a running back, Alvin Henderson, your only running back of the class. You wanted to get 2, but Alvin is not a bad lone back to get. One of the best running backs in Alabama high school football history, rushing for over 10,000 yards, almost 200 touchdowns in his career. Absolute outstanding running back, and super excited to see what he can do for Auburn. And of course, the last guy to talk about here, you got a punter, John Allen McGuire, 5-star punter, I believe top 5 punter in the class 2025. He's listed as he's like a 5-star kicker as well, but Auburn brings him in to be the punter with Oscar Chapman leaving. You kind of think he might be a shoe-in for it, but with Auburn's track record this season with freshman specialist, might have to get someone else to come in and take punts for a year just to give McGuire time to get settled in with the next level. So, yeah, Auburn officially number 6. A couple of guys to look out for. Justice Terry is still on the table for Auburn. I still don't think Auburn will get him. I think Auburn's pretty much cemented at 6. And a lot of great things to hear. I heard, I didn't get the list of the names, but I do know 21 players out of the 25 Auburn signed will be early enrolling. So if Auburn manages to get a bowl game out of, by the grace of God, they would have an opportunity to practice with the team early, which would be great for Auburn and Hugh Freeze and company. So, yeah, pretty much great day overall. Very busy day for us in the graphics department. Not so much of a busy day for Alabama's graphic department. Their graphics absolutely suck. And if you have not seen them, I thought about pulling it up on the show, but I don't want that thing that they made. It's like mosaic art. It's the ugliest thing ever. That's what they did for their graphics. Auburn's, of course, not bad, but I thought a little on the more basic side of things. But I think they look nice. Which I love the white background Auburn does for all of theirs. So, yeah, great class. And there was a lot of things that were said after by Hugh Freeze, talking about how some of the coaches that were trying to get recruits from Auburn or whatever, trying to tell them that Hugh Freeze was going to step down for health reasons. I thought that was weird, but I didn't want to go too far in depth without knowing any names or anything. So, yeah. Great class overall. Let me know what you think in the comment section below of this recruiting class. Are you disappointed Auburn did not finish in the top 5? Are you elated that Auburn still finished in the top 6? Regardless, and who's your favorite recruit? Which recruit are you the most excited to see going forward? Of course, mine's going to be Malik Autry. It was the same thing last year with Malik Blockton. It's going to be Malik Mayhem next year. I'm just expecting that right away. It's Malik Mayhem with those two. So super excited to see what those two can do in their first year together on the Auburn Tigers. Now, transfer portal is, of course, going to be a major talking point for the remainder of the offseason, as it is every year now. The portal is such a mainstay in the sport. So Auburn does have to go after some key positions here. And I'll kind of skip around a little bit. I do need to mention, I'm just going to skip down one. real quick. Transfer portal updates, just so I can get this out of the way. I meant to put this ahead of it, but I messed myself up by putting transfer portal first. New transfer portal additions. I mentioned last show that Gage Keys has entered the portal. Since then, Camden Brown has entered his name into the portal, a wide receiver. So Auburn loses another wide receiver. Of course, you lost, I believe you're losing Robert Lewis, Keandre Lambert-Smith, both out of eligibility. And, of course, now Camden Brown. So 3 open spots there for wide receiver, enough for some of the guys to kind of step up from last year. I think you can talk to Perry Thompson about getting some starting reps going into next year for that. You also lose Gabe Russo, a backup punter. And then lastly, Grant Hidalgo, the tight end that got in very sparingly last year. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, transfer portal shopping list for the Auburn Tigers. And I'll kind of go bottom to top here, top to bottom, because I think everyone kind of knows the biggest position of need here for Auburn is quarterback. Now, Peyton Thorne is gone. Holden Geriner is going to the portal. You've managed to keep Hank Brown and Walker White, and you brought in Deuce Knight. That's 3 scholarship guys Hugh Freeze mentioned yesterday that he does, in fact, want 4 scholarship quarterbacks to work with going the next year. So you got to get at least 1 quarterback. I think it's pretty much simple as that. Just 1 guy is all you need. Deuce Knight can take a red shirt, and then you got Hank Brown and the transfer and Walker White to battle it out all offseason long. You're kind of looking at what kind of quarterbacks are going to go in. Right now, from what I've heard and seen around who would be in the mix for the Auburn job, of course, we mentioned Miller Moss. We talked about Caden Salter and Thomas Castellanos from Boston College are all guys that I've seen mentioned towards Auburn going after. Of course, John Mateer has not entered the portal yet. But a lot of people were speculating that he would because his coordinator did, in fact, leave for Oklahoma. With Jackson Arnold leaving Oklahoma as well, that opens up a spot for Oklahoma to go after Mateer if he does, in fact, choose to go to the portal, which will be I believe it'll be a battle between Oklahoma and Auburn. But you got to bring in 1 quarterback. You cannot afford to mess up this time. You can't wait till the fall or the summer opening to find a portal quarterback. You need to do it as soon as possible. You need to be involved in every single battle for these top-end transfer portal guys because you cannot afford to have the same mistakes you made 2 years ago and last year. A lot of mistakes Auburn made offensively were because of what they couldn't do with the quarterback position. You can't simplify the playbook next year. You got to make plays. And these receivers, they want the football. You got to get them a guy who can. Honestly, if Mateer enters the portal, that's 1. That is 1, no A, no 1B. Number 1 target. If Mateer enters the portal, that is who Auburn needs to go for. Behind him, I think it drags off a little bit. I'm on the fence about how I feel about Caden Salter. I think the down year kind of plays into, I don't know if I really want him to come to the Tigers. But the talent, I see the talent. Miller Moss, I'm not all for Miller Moss. I think he's too restrained into the pocket. And I think you just have like a Hank Brown versus Hank Brown battle there. And I'm not really for that. I think you need dynamic quarterback play going the next year. And of course, I don't think Jackson Arnold is going to be involved here. Thomas Castellanos, I think I'm on the fence with him too. I think he's just on the shorter side of things. But of course, last year he got hurt. He's been a fun player to watch. I don't know if anyone else has been watching Boston college football over the years, but he has been one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch in college football over the past few years. I think it'd be a nice pickup, but I don't know if Auburn goes for Castellanos or if he does come to Auburn. So yeah, I think you're mainly looking at you're waiting to hear from Mateer, but you're keeping your hands in the pot for Salter and probably Castellanos and Moss as well. Up next, I think a position Auburn needs to go for. I thought about running back, but I decided not. I think with Damari and Cobb both potentially coming back, or I know Damari's coming back, with Cobb potentially coming back, and then Alvin Henderson coming in. I think you have a nice 3-headed monster right there. I think Henderson's going to be good to go. So I did not want to go running back. I thought about maybe just one guy, but I didn't want to do that. But wide receiver, I think you need one, just one. You're bringing back Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, you hope from Perry Thompson. Bryce Cain's took a red shirt last year. You got a lot of guys that are very talented. You got the three guys coming in this year: Derek Smith, Eric Smith, and Sam Turner. But with KLF leaving, I think you just need one veteran guy. Just one veteran guy is all Auburn really needs here. And one guy that I'm looking forward to, and of course he'd be a veteran in the sense of he's a junior to a bunch of sophomores, is Kevin Conception out of NC State. I think that's a guy Auburn needs to go after. He's just a dynamic playmaker. He can fill in the KLS role, and this would be, I mean, talking about Auburn's wide receiver master, I mean, it would be just on par with that because Conception is just that good. Now, I hope I'm saying his last name right. If I'm not, please someone correct me. But dude would be a baller in an Auburn uniform. So that's one guy that I hope Auburn does go for. I haven't really looked through the rest of the portal guys. I know Kobe Prentice out of Alabama did in the portal, but my eyes are fully set on Conception. That's who I'm looking at out of NC State. If you don't know who that is, Kevin Conception, I'm Kevin out of NC State. Go watch the film. Dude's a dog, absolute dog. But you only need one wide receiver. Is all I'm sitting on right now. Up next, staying offensively here, tight end. You brought in two guys recruiting wise, but you're losing Valdo. You're losing Luke Deal. You bring back Brandon Frazier. He's getting a medical red shirt, able to come back next year. So you also got Rico Walker as well. And of course, you go into next year, you're looking at Hollis Davidson, you're looking at Ryan Gee. But right now, I don't know how likely it is to see those guys really get in as true freshmen. So I would like Auburn to try to get at least one tight end in the portal. I think you're looking at a veteran pass catching tight end to kind of fill the role that you had with Rivaldo Fairweather. And of course, you need to prove to them that you're going to pass the ball to the tight end enough to justify them coming in. But I do think that is going to be a position Auburn really needs to go after here, is, of course, tight end. Up next, going to defense. I'm skipping defensive line because I think there's a lot of young pieces that are going to play right away. Linebacker, though, I think you need about 1 to 2 guys here. You got DeMarcus Riddick coming back. You got DJ Barber and Joe Phillips all took a red shirt last year. But you're losing Dorian Mausi. You're losing Nasante. And, of course, I believe you're losing Austin Keys as well. So you're losing a lot of production at linebacker. So what Auburn needs to do here, I mean, you have Robert Woodyard that's going to probably be a starter next year if he does, in fact, stay. And, of course, I say that with everybody because I don't know who's going to enter the portal nowadays. But, of course, I think you need like 1 or 2 linebackers. Just kind of fill out that rotation. Durkin has his mindset and what the defense looks like, and it's just a constant rotation of pieces. That's why the defense played so well last year. You never really had guys get tired quickly, and I think it works out there if you can get 1 or 2 guys to fill out that linebacker role. Another position, I realized I just skipped over one. Another position that Auburn needs to go after. This one I didn't put 1 or 2 on. I put it straight up 2. Offensive tackle. Last year was Auburn's worst position on the offensive line. You had a bunch of inconsistency there. You missed last year with Percy Lewis. Dylan Wade played well at guard. I believe he might be coming back, and I hope you kind of keep him at guard. That's where he was at his strongest at. But tackles. Auburn needs to get some quality tackles. Of course, you have some freshmen last year who could probably fill in those roles, but I don't know right now if you want to sacrifice what you can get right now with a veteran tackle out of the portal. So I think it's positions Auburn needs to go after. So yeah, I think you need probably a left and a right one, or a starting left tackle and some depth just somewhere. That's what I think Auburn needs to go for there. Back to the defense. Defensive back. You got a lot of young pieces here. You got Jay Crawford. You got Kyan Lee. You got Caleb Harris. You got a bunch of these guys in the backfield that are going to start getting more reps going forward. But I think you just need like 1 to 2 veteran guys. I know Kyan Lee's going to be a junior. Kind of fill out where you want those guys to go in. I think you could have a safety. I think you could have a corner. Just ways for Auburn to fill out spots to really utilize as much talent as possible in the defensive backfield. Auburn has a lot to offer for defensive backs. This was a very, very good defense, and it just needs to be reloaded at positions that they're losing out on. So, yeah, I think you just need one or two guys to fill out the defensive backfield because you have a lot of talent coming in with this class too. Of course, like I mentioned, you got Blake Woodby, you got Donovan Starr, you got guys like that, Eric Winters, and of course, Anquan Fegan. So I think you're going to be like Caleb Harris level right away in this Auburn offense. And then last position, Auburn is probably going for in the portal here. You brought in 5-star punter John Allen McGuire, but I think you got to bring in at least one other punter in the portal. Auburn had a lot of struggles last year when it comes to putting freshmen in areas of importance on special teams. So going into next year, I think you got to get at least one punter. So I just give you a veteran punter, a 1-year rental. Then next year, John McGuire takes all the punts that Auburn has to do. Hopefully it's not a lot. I would love it if we never had to use them in the next 3 years, just strictly because the offense is scoring on every drive. That's what I would love to see. But I'm just not going to be for putting a freshman guy in right away, especially with what Auburn experienced this past year. So, yeah, that's my shopping list for Auburn football going into this portal cycle. Of course, portal opens on the 9th. Players are already working on entering. Now it's an opportunity to recruit guys to bring in. Of course, Auburn's going to be a hot commodity for a lot of these players looking for new homes. Auburn's got a lot to offer. Auburn, very talented team last year, and you just got to find ways to prove it to them that you are ready to win now. So that is for the transfer portal conversation. We're going to move on to basketball in just a second. Of course, to end out the show, we're going to do conference championship picks for this weekend. But before we do, I'm going to send us to a quick little ad break. So outside this break, we'll talk about Auburn's hard-fought loss to Duke last night. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. Of course, that's available on thewarreport.com. First page, college loop hat. Second page, Feelin' Loopy t-shirt. Go check them out today. What kind of items you're ever going to wear in your entire life? Go ahead and just buy all 5 different colorways for both items. That way you have an outfit for every day of the work week. And you can mix and match. Just go throw them in the washer over the weekend, mix and match them the next week. Yeah, you got at least 25, not 25. Math is hard. Probably over 100 or something different outfits you can wear, I think. Right? You'd have 5 each. Is it 25? It'd probably just be 25. 5. Yeah, 25, I guess, would be the 25. Yeah, probably the entire month, really, for work days, if we're being honest. So, yeah, go check those out. Don't check my math. Just let it be. Of course, that's only 1 week to support the show, but the best way, the way that I would love you to support the show more than buying the merch is, of course, liking, commenting, and subscribing. What do you think Auburn's attack at in the portal? What do you think of Auburn's recruiting class? And what quarterback do you want? To answer one of those 3 questions. And then while you do that, while you're scrolling down there to the comment section, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. We're having a nice little surge of subscribers. So join the Looper family right here on YouTube, and of course all social media platforms as well. Trying to utilize those as much as possible. So Auburn basketball played last night. This game went into the next day if you're on the East Coast. I am just off the left of it in Central Time. So right now, as I'm recording this, because we're about to get the 30 minutes here, it is 12:07 in the morning, and I have work at 7 in the morning tomorrow. So this is a fun night for me, especially to edit the show. But Auburn took a loss to Duke at Duke, 84-78 in a game that was fun, but at points hard to watch. I will touch on real quick the fact that the officiating was not the best. But I don't think that's fully why Auburn lost this game. I think that you can look at the officiating, but there were a lot of things Auburn did wrong down the stretch. Of course, shooting. To end out the game, Auburn only made like 2 of the last 10 shots. Something you don't want to do, really. For those who don't know basketball, what you want to do is you want to make all your shots. Auburn didn't do a lot of that last night down the stretch. But a lot of high points to talk about before we get into what Auburn needs to work on. I do think this is a good building game, a building block game going forward. Despite the loss, I think Auburn still is in no trouble of getting dropped down too far. They were number 2 after a day of arguing with Kansas fans about who should be number 1. Kansas and Auburn both lost the same night, which I do find ironic. But leading Auburn in points tonight, Dahad Pettiford, coming off the bench, 18 minutes, had 4 fouls, but shot 4 of 8 from the three-point line, had 3 assists, had a rebound, but shot 8 of 15 overall. I mean, just a great overall night from Dahad. Continuing to show why he is one of the best freshmen in the country. Definitely one of the best freshman point guards in Auburn, in recent Auburn memory. Absolutely balling out. I mean, he looks like I think he could be better than Sharif Cooper out there. Of course, Janai Broom also put up 20 points and got 12 rebounds with a double-double. We'll talk about for him. Played almost the entire game. As did Miles Kelly, who almost played the entire game, put up 14 points, 4th on the team. Chad Baker-Mazara put up 17 points. Did not miss a free throw, made all 2 of his threes that he attempted. Miles Kelly, back to him for a second, 4 of 5 from the three-point line. So the issues Auburn had scoring-wise, outside of those 4, I mean, you had 7 points combined amongst the math correct. Yeah, 7 points between out of the last 5 players that played last night. You had 5 from Chaney Johnson. You had 2 from Chris Moore. JP Pegues in 4 minutes did not register a point, had 2 rebounds and an assist. You had Dylan Cardwell, who got 0 points, had 4 rebounds and an assist. And you also had Denver Jones, who, surprisingly enough, shot the ball 4 times, missed every single one of them. 0 points from him, 3 rebounds, 4 assists in 28 minutes. So it's hard to win games whenever some of your more reliable scorers are not putting up points. Chaney Johnson was averaging 10 points a game, put up half of that, and Auburn loses by 6. So things to look at in this game. Auburn has shot 45% from the field to Duke's 50. Auburn attempted 6 more shots. The key factor of this game is free throws. Duke shot 15 more than Auburn did, made 7 more. Auburn lost by 6. Now, again, I think the officiating was very iffy. There were a lot of calls where I was very confused by what they were doing. And the officiating or the commentating crew was also confused at times about what they were doing. But that's not why Auburn lost this game. Look at turnovers. Auburn had 4 turnovers, 4 more turnovers. It was 8-4 in Duke's favor. And in that, Auburn, in the 4 turnovers, Auburn only scored 1 point off of Duke turnovers. Auburn had 8 turnovers. Duke scored 13 off of those. When you look at rebounds, Auburn out-rebounded Duke by 5. But when it comes to second chance points, Duke won that. Bench points, Duke won that. Points in the paint, Duke won that. And fast break points, Duke had 16. Auburn had 0. This Duke defense is really good. Auburn was able to find shots and make them down beyond the arc. But when it got into the paint, Auburn struggled a lot. Janai Broom got shut down a lot in this game. I think he had a few of the turnovers himself. I know he had 2, which ties number 1 on the team last night. Assists, Auburn had 17 to Duke's 11. Blocks, Duke out-blocked Auburn 4-3. And steals, you had 7-4 in Duke's favor. Auburn started off this game with the lead, and then Auburn had the lead for 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes of this game. Duke had the lead for almost 26 minutes, but held on throughout the second half. I think you look at this game, I don't think you find it to be a bad loss. I mean, when it comes to playing Duke, I mean, it's never going to be a bad loss. You fought hard. This is a game you kind of look at and you build on going forward. Up next, you got Richmond. And then after that, you got Ohio State. So you got plenty of time between now and then to kind of get right and kind of sit down and like, all right, what do we need to do better? Can't turn football. Can't turn over the ball as much, and of course, you got to take better shots. You had Chris Moore, who took 2 shots beyond the arc. I love Simo. I love the effort he puts in defensively. Unless there's no one around, I don't think Chris Moore should be taking a shot beyond the arc. So, yeah, 2 points from him. But you can't have Chris Moore outscoring Denver Jones. Denver's got to put up points. The fouls happen too much. I don't know if it's just an officiating thing or what about this game, but overall, I mean, there are too many yet. Janai Brumu fouled out. Miles Kelly Tahad both ended the game with 4. Chaney Johnson had 3. Dylan Cardwell had 3. And Simo had 1. In total, Auburn had 20 fouls to Duke's 14. And again, as I mentioned, free throws. Auburn lost by 6. Duke made 7 more free throws. So something you got to fix going forward. I don't think Auburn's in any trouble here. This is still one of the best teams in the country, if not still the best team in the country. You got one of the best players. You got the best player in the country in Janai Broom. You just got to get right after this. It's how you respond to a loss like this, a hard-fought loss. It's in one of the toughest places to play in basketball, just ever in basketball. Just take this loss, build on it. I think Auburn's going to be perfectly fine going forward. 84-78 is not a bad loss in my book. No one's ever gone completely undefeated in basketball, won the championship, right? It's never happened before. So 1 loss is still fine. So, yeah. Excuse me. All right. So, yeah. I think Auburn's perfectly fine. Tough, hard-fought loss that I think they can come back from very easily. Now, that is for the basketball recap. Let me know what you think about the game in the comment section below. Did you watch all of it? Were you up till 11:30 with the rest of us watching that game? And then before we get out of here today, it is conference championship weekend in college football. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games to talk about on Saturday or Friday and Saturday. Starting off with Friday, I'll go ahead and I love the G5, so I'll talk about them a little bit. Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State on the CBS and the CBS Sports Network. Jacksonville State's a 5-point favorite playing Western Kentucky. I am gonna rock with not the hometown team, but I'm from Alabama, so I'm gonna rock with Jacksonville State here. Number 20 UNLV will travel to Idaho, take on number 10 Boise State. Boise State is a 4-point favorite, and because I want Boise State to playoffs, I'm gonna pick Boise State to win that game and pretty much secure a 4 seed, right? Right? Were they secure a 4 seed? I think they would. Why not? Tulane travels to West Point to take on number 24 Army. Tulane's a 5-point favorite. And I'm going to support the troops here. I'm going to go Army to win this game and secure a bid for a higher end playoff spot. Now, moving on to the Saturday games, the games that, have a lot of these games have a lot of playoff implications. And by that, I mean, they are playoff games already. 16, Iowa State will take on Arizona State in Arlington, Texas for the Big 12 championship. Winner gets a playoff spot. Essentially, the winner gets an auto bid. I'm going to take Arizona State in this one. They've had a very good stretch of weeks here. I think they're the best team in the Big 12, and they definitely played like they are. Kenny Dillingham is a rock star of a coach. I'm going to take the Sun Devils in that one. MAC championship at 11 a.m. on Saturday in Detroit, Michigan, Ohio at Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio is a 1.5-point favorite, and I'm going to stay with the Redhawks there. So, yeah, I'm going to rock with the Redhawks to win that game. SEC championship, number 5, Georgia at number 2, Texas, or it's just in Atlanta, Georgia, in Mercedes-Benz. Usually I'd be afraid this would be a home game for Georgia since it's in Atlanta, because every time they play in Atlanta, it is. But those Texas fans love to travel, and I think these games are pretty much balanced in who shows up. But I'm going to go with Texas here, and it kind of depends on if I believe Quinn Ewers is going to be back. If not, I mean, I think Georgia has a good chance to win this game. It's going to be probably the best. This is the best game of the week, I think. I just don't think Penn State Oregon is going to be that great of a game. It might be, but I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to rock with Texas in that one, securing their spot. But would not surprise me in the slightest if Georgia was able to get that win. Up next, the CUSA Championship. Not mistaken, if my math is not CUSA. That is the American. I have done lost my mind, really. Sun Belt Championship. There we go. Marshall at Louisiana Lafayette. I'm gonna ULL is a 6-point favorite in this game, but I got family from West Virginia. I'm gonna take Marshall in this game, so I'm gonna rock with the Thundering Herd for the Sun Belt. Up next, Big Ten Championship game number 3. Penn State will travel to Indianapolis, take on the number 1 team in the nation, the only undefeated team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, who are a 3.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Oregon. I don't trust James Franklin in big game scenarios. He has every chance. He has every opportunity right here to surprise me. But when the going gets tough, James Franklin does not get tougher. So I'm going to go with Oregon there, and that take might age badly if he does win, but regardless. Then, to round out conference championship week, they both play on 7 o'clock, so regardless. Number 17, Clemson, travels to Charlotte, North Carolina, which I'll be there in a couple weeks for a Panthers game. We'll travel to Charlotte, North Carolina, take on number 8 team in the nation, SMU. Winner gets in the playoffs, regardless. Depending on who wins here, the loser still gets in, but maybe not. So Clemson, if they win, SMU stays in. Clemson jumps up and also secures auto bid. SMU wins, playoffs pretty much stay as normal. So as much as I love Rhett Lashley, as much as I love SMU, as an Auburn fan, as an Alabama hater, I'm going to go with Clemson here. Dabo Swinney has made a career really out of annoying Alabama. Really annoying everybody, but annoying Alabama. And I hope he does it again. I want Clemson in the playoffs strictly because Alabama wouldn't be in at that point. So with that, I'm rocking with Clemson. But that is for my pick'ems of the week. Pretty much one of the last pick'ems we'll do here for college football up until the playoffs, where I'll just probably pick the entire playoffs at that point. So yeah, that does it for the stomach of the College Loop Podcast. Of course, I am Dylan Larck on Twitter. Also on my Instagram as well at Dylan Larck at DYLENLRCK. Check out the signing day graphics. Let me know what you think of ours. Are they better than Alabama's? The answer is, of course, yes. And of course, don't forget to check us out all over the place for podcasts as well on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, of course, Amazon Music, and of course, right here on YouTube, where you should like, comment, and subscribe. Again, leave your thoughts about everything we talked about today. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Always. But of course, that is for some of the College Loop Podcast. Hopefully, Auburn can make a bowl game just for the bowl practices. I want Auburn just to go to a bowl game for bowl practices. I don't care who plays. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I don't care. I just want extra practices. So that's all I hope a 5-7 Auburn team can get in. But of course, that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop Podcast yet again. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, War Eagle.